All right, Jay with Oklahoma Ponds. We are here at our display yard and retail store today, and we are cleaning out our large pond. So this is a 10 by 15 pond. It's a really common size that we install and that we maintain. So today I've got Colby and Darian. It's mid-January right now, and it's a perfect time to start cleaning out these ponds. So the guys are getting all the equipment set up behind me, and we're gonna do a real thorough step-by-step process on how to clean an ecosystem pond. All right, so some of the equipment, we're still bringing out some of the rest of it, but some of the equipment that we always have is we have our large 50-foot hose here that attaches to our pump, and it attaches to our vacuum too. So this vacuum that we use, once we have the pond pump down, we're gonna use this vacuum to get all the little bit of debris and sediment out of the pond. And it's also got an internal pump in there too. So we can vacuum, the pump inside the vacuum is pumping the water out. So that way we don't have any interruptions. We can just work straight through and not have to worry about emptying out the vacuum. This is our pressure washer here. So we're really careful with this. This is a really good pressure washer that we use to clean the rocks, get the biofilm off of the rocks, and just kind of give it polish. This is more for the aesthetics of cleaning out the pond. And then we've got our 500-gallon holding tank. So this is a big aluminum tank that we bring with us on almost every clean out. And what we're gonna do is we set this up, nice level ground, and then we're gonna pump the water from our pond and store it into this tank. The other tank that Colby's unpacking right now is our collapsible tank, and that is just for water storage. So on ponds that have more than 500 gallons, we're gonna bring out this extra tank here and use it to store that extra water so we can pump it all back. All right, so the main reason why we try to save as much of the original pond water is because it's safer for the fish. They're already acclimated to that pH, they're acclimated to the water chemistry, and most importantly, the temperature. So koi can only really survive and tolerate a 4-degree change in water temperature. So it's real important that whenever we are transferring fish, that we keep a really close eye on those water temperatures. So this is about what you should expect your pond to look like this time of the year. Now, we did not net this pond, and that would have definitely helped out if we did, but being that it's up here at our display yard, we wanted to be able to give people the opportunity to see it even through the winter time without the net over the pond. But you can see there's just some grime in there, some algae growing. Our old lily pots from last year, we'll get those cleaned up and put back in. We've got our big brute catfish in there, albino catfish. We've got several koi, and you can see that they're kind of moving slow, which is ideal for this time of the year to clean these ponds. So when we pump all this water over, when it gets down to about 6 or 7 inches in depth, we're gonna turn the pumps off and we're gonna gently transfer the fish from the pond over into the holding tank over here. So once we have all the fish moved over into their holding tank, that's when the real fun starts. So we're gonna start with the rinsing of the pond. We're gonna rinse all this water, all the dirty sludge and everything out from behind these rocks, from the gravel. And we're gonna try to get it all down into the bottom of the pond so our vacuum can easily get it out for us. Once we have all the debris and everything kind of flushed out and down to the bottom, that's when we will start with our pressure washing, and we're gonna go through and clean up each one of these rocks that are in here. All these large boulders, we're gonna start hitting it with the pressure washer and get as much of that biofilm and slime off of them so the pond looks like it's freshly been cleaned. Now, it's not important to get every little speck and everything clean in this pond, because after all, it is an ecosystem. I mean, these fish and the plants and all the bacteria are relying on that biofilm, that slimy little coat that grows all over the rocks. That's actually what's responsible for keeping this pond clean and healthy. So it's not about sterilizing the pond, it's about getting it cleaned out and getting it fresh start for the upcoming season. If we don't do a pond cleaning, what can happen is all that debris and all that organic that's down in the bottom, when the water temperatures start rising, we're gonna start to see more problems with our water clarity and potentially green water and string algae. Because as that debris starts breaking down, it releases a nutrient into the water. If there's too much nutrients or excess of nutrients in the pond, then algae will come in and try to correct that problem and feed on that nutrient. So by keeping the nutrient level low in the pond, we really help ourselves in the long run with algae problems. All right, so Darian just took apart the check valve to our pump, and what a check valve does is when the pumps turn off, it's got a little flapper in there that only lets the water go one direction, and when the pump is turned off, that water tries flowing back through, and that flapper comes in and locks the water in our line and inside of our biofilter. So by taking that off, we're now draining the water that's up inside of the biofilter. It's coming down inside the skimmer. It's going to allow us to clean the pump really good and clean the biofilter. So a really common question that we get is, how often and why do I need a pond cleaning? Well, the answer is at least once a year, sometimes twice. And the reason we do a pond cleaning is because we want to get all of that debris, all that organic and the sludge out of the pond. The reason that's important is because if we leave this organic and sludge and all this debris inside the pond, come springtime, when the water temperatures start coming up, all that organic stuff starts breaking down. What the end result of that is an excess amount of nutrients in the pond. And when we get an excess amount of nutrients in the pond, we start to get cloudy water, green water, and string algae. Not only that, but too much of that organic stuff breaking down in the pond can overwhelm our biofilter, the bacteria that lives in there, and then we can start getting high levels of ammonia and nitrite. And both of those are toxic to fish. So the bacteria in our pond is responsible for breaking down that ammonia and the nitrites and ultimately converting it into a nitrate. And nitrates are plant food and also algae food. So that's why it's important to also balance these ecosystems with a healthy amount of fish, beneficial bacteria, and plants. That's how we get our clear, clean, healthy water for our fish. All right, so our pond level is getting down. The fish have just enough water to kind of completely submerge themselves. So it's time to turn off our pumps. We're gonna carefully bring these fish out, move them over into our holding tanks, and finish the pumping process. So what we wanna do is we don't wanna chase the fish. We don't wanna prod at them. We don't wanna force them into the net. We wanna set our net down at the bottom of the pond and let the fish slowly kind of move into our net, and then we lift them out. If we chase the fish around and we are prodding at them and trying to scoop them into the net, it really riles them up. They'll swim around really fast and frantically, potentially hitting themselves on the rocks, and also it increases the stress. So the most important thing about this entire process is making sure that the fish are as calm and stressless as possible during the move. So one reason that Darian is getting these fish out one by one is because, especially with the larger fish, we don't want to put too many of them inside the same net, because the pressure from each other can hurt their skeletal systems, because they're not designed for inward pressure like that. They're more designed to kind of float in the water. If you have too many in there bouncing around on each other, then it can cause some breakage of bones. So getting them out one by one, just like Darian's doing, takes a little bit longer, but it's definitely better for the fish in the long run. All right, so we got all of our fish moved over. Now we get to start pumping this down, getting all this sludge and debris. So one thing we're gonna do is we're gonna quit pumping the water from inside of here into our holding tanks, because we have enough water in our holding tanks now to restart the system. But we're gonna take the water that's being pumped through and we're gonna use it to kind of flush in on itself. So we're gonna use that high flow rate and push all the slime and dirt and debris that's behind these rocks and in the gravel down to the bottom. So we've got most of the pond rinsed down. We got a lot of the sludge and muck out of here. You kind of see that's exactly what we're going for. So now we're gonna go through and power wash, get this biofilm off here and make all these rocks look new and pretty again. When we're done with that, we're gonna go through and do some touch-up work. So maybe some rocks have shifted. Need to add a little bit more gravel here to cover some liner. So we'll be working on all that next.
Got everything cleaned out here, rinsed. We're filling it up a little bit, and then we're gonna start cleaning out the skimmer box next, and then we'll start moving our fish and the water back over. So we're pumping the water from our holding tank back into this. So this is the original water, the water that's been in here all year. The fish are acclimated to it. They're used to the chemistry here, the pH and the water temperature. So this is the best, safest way of putting the water back in for the fish. So this is what we should expect the next day after a pond cleaning. So when we're first done with the pond cleaning, it's really common for it to be cloudy. You know, moving all that water back and forth can stir up a lot of stuff. So we let this thing run overnight. This is the results the next day. So everything's flowing just fine. Skimmer's working flawlessly. Fish are happy, they're swimming around. It's still January here, so they're a little lethargic with those cool temperatures, but they're checking out their new home, all cleaned up. You can see we still have some residual pieces of biofilm on the rock, and that's totally normal. That's what we want to see. So a pond cleaning is not a pond sterilization. We don't want to sterilize the pond and have to literally restart the entire ecosystem. Our goal and our job when we come into a pond cleaning is to get out the majority of that sludge, that organic muck that's in the bottom of the pond, and get the system ready for the upcoming year. If we leave that sludge and that gunk in there, there's a really good chance that we're gonna have string algae, green water, water clarity issues, and potentially some fish health issues. So getting in there and doing a manual clean out on everything, getting most of that debris and gunk out is the best way to get your pond started for the new year. All right, guys, so it has been 4 days since we cleaned out the large pond up here at the retail store. And I want to show you what the results are after 4 days. Letting that water settle back down, everything run through the freshly cleaned or replaced filter pads that we got in here. All the fish are loving it. This pond looks brand new again. So let me show you what that looks like.